Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Bitcoin has been so volatile over the last couple days, and it's more volatile than we've seen in months. During this period, we've been waiting to see whether Bitcoin was going to break 30K or whether we were going to get rejected and start falling lower. And throughout the last couple days, we haven't had any true confirmation. For today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what the price is telling us, where we need to see Bitcoin hold in order for us to continue to see new highs, and what this next move is going to look like if and when we break out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. So here we are to start off today's video, mapping out Bitcoin and touching up on some of my last analysis. Now in my last video, we were breaking out, we were all the way up here around 30K, and I talked about how most likely we would end up seeing some type of a pullback, and we would have to truly hold this level and cement it as support if we were going to see continuation. Now, what we ended up seeing was this massive sell-off that brought us all the way back down to the original point of the breakout. And we instantly saw the market rebound pretty much to the point of which we sold off. Now guys, if you weren't familiar, the reason why we actually saw this sell-off was because the US government was selling Bitcoin. They were actually selling some of the Mt. Gox Bitcoin, which they're trying to get through with all the settlement that's been going on for years and years at this point. And so that was actually why we saw this big sell-off. The reason I believe that we saw such a big rebound after had everything to do with the fact the only reason the sell-off actually occurred had mainly to do with the fact that the government was just dumping a bunch of Bitcoin on the market. So we saw the rebound, and now we're pretty much right back at that exact same level that we were up until the point of my last video. Now nothing has changed. We still need to hold this level as support, and as long as we can do that, we would expect to see continuation. From that video, we've pretty much stayed at this exact same level, and if we get in here to a shorter time frame, we can kind of see here with Bitcoin, we don't have any true confirmation, but if we can kind of get outside of this descending resistance in here that we've been huddling up against throughout this entire consolidation, as long as we can break out, and then once we clear these range highs, pretty much 30K exactly, that's where we're going to expect to see that next leg up in this cycle. And the fun thing about this next part is I believe that the way this consolidation has played out, because if you guys remember, what we've been talking about has been this little setup right here. Now this has been the consolidation that we've been comparing this entire move to. The only difference here was this was a little bit more of a volatile sell-off than the one that we saw up here in this black outline. But nonetheless guys, the rule still stands. The second that this holds support and we start that next leg up, I believe that it's going to happen very quickly. And that's what this consolidation is telling us. As long as support holds where we're at, we hold the top of this resistance now as support, that's going to be the point where we see this next leg up, and I do believe that it's going to happen pretty quick. And this is the point where all of the people that have kind of been waiting around, that weren't willing to get invested throughout this period, and have kind of been sitting on the fence even throughout here, that are expecting that this is going to top and we're going to start selling off back down, I think that this is the point where they start to realize that they messed up, that they were wrong, and now they're getting priced out of the entire cycle. So this is kind of the moment of time where it was similar to what we saw in that first leg up in 2019. And it's pretty much the same consolidation here as well, which also looks pretty much the same. This one came all the way back down to actually retest that same support level that our consolidation now is, which, actually lines up a little bit more accordingly. But once again, guys, this was the same consolidation that we saw right before that final blow off top. So the reason I've been drawing my target from, I would say low end 35K, but for me, if we're going to see this type of a move play out where it is a blow off top like we have throughout this consolidation up to this point, because this consolidation has played out, that's what's always been telling me that we would see a blow off top. And so it's played out everything that I've wanted to see, everything that I was waiting to see, if in fact we were supposed to have this blow off top. So, now that it's played out, I'm going to continue to stick to that analysis. There's no reason to change that. And so once this next leg up starts, I believe that this is the one where we rally upwards of 40K and maybe even 48,500, depending on how big this move gets. It can be a very big move. And so far, our consolidation is showing us that this is much more of a 2019 type of rally based off of our price action. So far, in my opinion, the price action looks identical. This consolidation and this consolidation pretty much looks exactly the same as where we're at right now. this consolidation, and then this consolidation. Nothing has really changed that much. Now keep in mind, guys, that just because the market looks similar doesn't mean it has to play out in that same way. The market structure doesn't just instantly have to go into a blow off top, but this has kind of been the thing I've been personally watching for, because what we've been flirting with is also this $30,000 range, and that's something else we have to keep in mind. This is an important area of demand, right? And so kind of in the same way that our consolidation back here was an important point where we actually, this consolidation, we were below the 6K support level. It was resistance. Then on this move, we broke out of it and flipped it as support, right? And so that was a huge support and resistance flip that led us into this big euphoric type of blow off top. In my opinion, this consolidation that we're at right now is pretty much the same, where this 30K level is a very important level, where once we get a confirmed flip above this, where we're confirming that this is true support, I believe that that's where we're going to get a lot more buy support coming in here, where all of the people that have kind of been bearish throughout this consolidation will now realize that they were wrong, and then they kind of feel like they're getting priced out, so then they jump in the same way that it played out in 2019. I believe that it'll be different. The price action is not always going to be the same, but what we're seeing is, a lot of the same emotions, which I think is very interesting when it comes to factoring in what we will expect to see moving forward. But that's kind of what I'm watching for. In the shorter time frames, we have to obviously hold our short-term support, right? Even if we sell off a little bit lower, we absolutely have to hold this short-term resistance right here as new support. As long as that happens, that's kind of what I'm watching big picture. But with what we've actually been seeing as the markets have opened with the S&P 500, we've seen this break out. So if you guys remember in my last update, we talked about how this was a resistance, this was a resistance, and this was our resistance throughout here, right? We haven't had any true breakout. Even though this one technically made a higher high, we ended up selling all the way back down to retest the breakout point of this descending resistance. So throughout this period, we never really got a massive breakout. This was just a short-term high above the range, and then we instantly sold back below that. And then even this most recent leg up, we were still right here at that same resistance. So the fact is, guys, once we're able to break out of this entire consolidation range, or what I should say, this resistance more or less that we've been in since here, once we're finally able to clear this, that's where we're looking for a pretty big leg up. We're going to go to 43.30 in the minimum. We could see something like this, maybe a pullback to retest, and then that will set us up for an even bigger leg. And this is where I think things are going to heat up, guys. If we're going to be looking at the S&P 500 to be breaking out of a pretty massive bottom formation, because I mean, if we're looking at the S&P 500, it hasn't made a lower low. It's only made higher highs. It's consecutively broken out and continue to break out as everybody said it was bearish. I mean, we've already broken descending resistance. We've already held support and made higher highs throughout months and months at this time. So now that we're about to break out of this resistance, I really don't see how there's anything telling us that this market is bearish, let alone the fact that all of the other markets have broken out as well. If we get into a bigger time frame and we zoom out, I mean, to me, this looks exactly like many of the other consolidations that we've been in. I see a lot of people drawing this as this. And then we're going to do something like this, right? Where this is a complacency wave, and then we're going to start this massive Great Depression cycle, right? Where they're viewing this entire thing as a blow-off top. I can't help but feel like those people are going to be wrong, and I don't believe that we're at the blow-off top yet. Guys, don't get me wrong. The government is screwed up. Our dollar is weakening. All of the economies are going to fail inside of America for the most part. I mean, we're seeing all of these other countries, China, Russia, the Middle East, getting ready to drop the dollar, already dropping the dollar actually, and they're using the Chinese currency as the reserve currency of the world. So we're already seeing the cracks starting, and we've pretty much seen the cracks starting since the 80s, since the 70s when we were taking off the gold standard, but we're at this point now where things are really heating up, where all of these countries are starting to drop the dollar, where they're really starting to unite inside of their own trading industries, and they're really just excluding America from the new economy. And so even though that's a huge bearish sign, big red flags everywhere, I still don't think that that means we're done. Now guys, we still have a money printer, and I believe they're going to use that thing. And I believe that this thing is going to go up much higher, even if it's not really real value, it's just inflation. Because I believe that we're at this point where the worst it's going to get from this point is where we're just going to have true hyperinflation, because the only way that they're going to be able to keep the dollar afloat is by printing more of it, because now that there's even less of a backing, because now all the other countries are dropping it too. So I don't think that the blow off top is done. I believe our blow off top is going to happen because of record inflation, hyperinflation, where this chart goes skyrocketing, and it's only doing that because of the weakening of the US dollar, right? It's not like we're really making any money, because chances are this probably won't be outperforming the rate of of inflation. This will be having a blow off top because of inflation, right? And so that's kind of what I think is going to be happening big picture. But when we're looking at these from a shorter time frame, not to get too sidetracked here, everything is breaking out. This is looking like a big rounded bottom that's about to start breaking out again. And the dollar, even though it's starting to make this bounce, keep in mind I'm on a shorter time frame here, the dollar's had this massive sell-off. We're coming all the way back down to support here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the dollar. But if the dollar's just going to range sideways, maybe make a run back up to the mid-range point at about 103 to 104, overall I'm expecting that the dollar will probably trend sideways before making one more final leg up like this. And then throughout that entire period is where, Bitcoin will probably finish its next leg up. So that's kind of what I'm watching for with Bitcoin. I still think we have one final blow off top before this move is done. The S&P 500 is now breaking out, and I think that this leg up is going to be where we see that money kind of come back into Bitcoin. The dollar itself still looks kind of bullish, I'm not going to lie. To me, it looks like it'll probably hold support down in here and then get a bounce. But keep in mind, guys, that Bitcoin can finish a blow off top, and the S&P 500 can finish a breakout. And throughout that entire period, the dollar can just kind of range sideways and not really have any true sort of movement one way or another. What I would expect to see is if the dollar breaks out and runs to the mid-range point, obviously that should come after Bitcoin probably breaks out and then pulls back. Same thing with the S&P 500. Let's say the S&P 500 does this, breaks out to 43.30, pulls back to this level here, then at that point I wouldn't be surprised if the DXY actually breaks out to the mid-range point at around 103.5 to 104. And then once the DXY pulls back again around this support, that's probably where we would end up seeing the final blow off top, probably this final leg up here that would run up towards this move. And then we could go through an even lengthier period of consolidation once again. And then in that period, that's kind of where we would expect to see the dollar breaking out, going upwards of 108, and making, its final sort of impulse before we start the big part of the bull cycle. Because, guys, the slow part of our cycle is probably going to be, once we finish this leg up, we're going to go through a lengthier period of consolidation. And so during that period, there's probably not going to be a lot that's really going on. There will be little narratives here and there like there always is, but we're probably going to be looking at, a good year worth of consolidation, worth of building up before we start to see true appreciation sometime in 2024, probably in the middle of 2024 to the latter part of that year. And we won't see real, new all-time highs and massive price discovery till probably sometime in 2025. So we got to remember that there's a long-term basis at play. We got to keep these things in mind. But this is kind of what I'm watching for in the short term. Overall, I still think the S&P 500 and Bitcoin are going to be doing good. So far, everything that we've needed to see from both of them has kind of played out. We've held support. As long as Bitcoin holds this resistance right here as new support, I don't see why we don't finish off this move with one more final blow off top. And throughout that period, it'll be interesting to see what the dollar does, but I'm not expecting the dollar to really start making another big move until after this move is done for Bitcoin, until probably after somewhere around this point for the S&P 500. So anyways, guys, wanted to give you this video, wanted to give you guys some updates. So far, nothing's really changed. Want to talk about what I'm seeing inside of the market, how I see the market moving once we actually get confirmation. If Bitcoin's unable to hold this support, then obviously we wouldn't be looking for a blow off top. We'd be looking for a deeper correction. But my analysis has kind of played out up to this point, so I'm sticking to the bullish thesis because we're just going to continue to stick to the trend that's at play. So with that being said, if you guys found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on updates. If you guys want to follow the trades that I take, anything that I'm doing inside of the Discord with my own money, I post it in the Discord, every single thing, whether it's an NFT pick, whether it's a pre-sale on something, DeFi opportunities, it literally doesn't matter. I post it all in there. So if you guys want to be able to get access to that, see what I'm doing over the course of the entirety of this cycle and for further cycles moving forward, it's a lifetime membership. So once you guys are in, you're always going to have access. Whether I'm trading crypto, whether I'm trading stocks, commodities, whatever it is, you guys are going to be able to follow along inside of there. So if you want to join, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Thank you all so much for the support once again. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.